Warm greetings, everyone. On behalf of W4W Foundation, a think tank instituted as a citizens collective, we welcome you to another session of Wednesdays for Water. The conversation today is going to be on qualitative aspects of urban and rural water supply. Before we go further into the session detail, let me just initially set the tone for what is Wednesdays for Water and what is the session about. The objective of Wednesdays for Water is to engage in conversation with water experts, grassroots practitioners, policymakers, and youth to explore the complex intertwined issues associated with water and the possible solutions they are seeking and practicing. It has expanded since then to have more activities like Friday Waters and Monday Munching with Women for Water, besides organizing physical and online water workshops, water talks and walks, seminars, special courses, and conference panels to continue the water conversation in various possible ways. In here at W4W Foundation, we strongly believe that water conversation is crucial to water conservation. Do visit our website www.w4w.in for further details, where you can find more than 300 session videos as well as details of our previous speakers, who are nearly 400 in numbers. My name is Mansee Bal Bhargava, and I'm going to be the moderator for the session representing W4W Foundation. Now, pertaining to today's session on qualitative aspects of urban and rural water supply, I guess we all know that there is definitely discrimination between the way water is supplied to urban areas and rural areas. And the discrimination goes further when we look into the further layers of caste, class, gender, many more other things for that matter. And that will be at the discretion of the speakers what they pick up to discuss. But for example, the per capita urban and rural water provision is by far, I think, deviating from the national average or constitutional right, which is given to us of 135 liters per capita per person, where an urban averages out to be around 70 to 80 liters per person. But then if you look into the grain, it goes from 20 liters per person to even 6,000 liters per person per day. But when we look at the rural and average it out, it comes to around 40 to 50 liters per day per person. And these are not my statistics. These are statistics from very well-recognized organization. What is also further here to understand is the current and future needs of urban and rural water supply, where urbanization is in the progress, and as well as agriculture and farming is another aspect of rural areas. But we are keeping the agriculture side today as out of our discussion, and we are focusing on water supply specifically for drinking and domestic purposes to the urban and rural populace. Anyway, we will discuss further the nuances, the opportunities, and the challenges of both the areas with our wonderful and grounded water workers we have today in our session. And today we have Puneet Srivastava and Rakesh Verma as our speakers, and our dear Nathaniel Bhakupar Dkhar as our discussant. And before I invite Puneet to give his first presentation, let me just have a brief introduction of Puneet so that we all know him a little bit more. And then I'm going to put the detailed bio in the chat box. Puneet Srivastava is a WASH sector specialist with over 27 years of experience nationally and internationally. He's a qualified civil engineer with Masters in Ecology and Environment and PG Diploma in Human Resource Management. He's working with People's Wash Solutions Limited and is based in Lucknow. He has professional experience of working with varied range of consulting companies, NGOs, multilateral and bilateral donor organizations, and private sector organizations. To name a few, DFID and World Bank, just to name a few. And then further, Puneet's work actually talks about democratization of water, which is where I'm very keen to hear about him, especially the Jal Chowpal. So what I'm going to do further, Puneet, I'm going to put your bio in the chat box so that we can save some time and we can hear from you. Over to you, Puneet, and thank you so much for agreeing to take this session and enlighten us with your thoughts on urban water supply. Over to you.
Thank you, Mansee ji. So good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to be part of this conversation today. Welcome you all. into. I'm looking forward to a very exciting discussion. The topic today chosen is qualitative aspects, both on rural and urban water supply. And I will be talking largely in the perspective of urban water supply in my presentation today. So I will be talking about the qualitative aspects in urban water supply, and I have 5 major pillars of my talk that I will be kind of putting up before you for discussion. And I think those are some of the qualitative aspects of urban water supply and the urban water supply environment in which it operates. The first one is embedding the urban water supply in urban development. The challenge of how do we kind of embed it within the overall discourse of the urban development, how the urban development works, and where does the urban water supply rests within that. What are the points of conflicts? What are the points of opportunities and all that? The second point is service delivery of the urban water supply. And for that, we will talk a little bit about some of the global best practices that we have seen, but still lagging far behind on those, like performance benchmarking for Indian utilities, to kind of have a further improvement in the service delivery to customers. The third pillar we will be talking about will be water quality, which is always a suspect in urban water, as we all know. And I think, the fourth one is, again, I think Mansee ji also covered a little bit, equity and urban poor, which is always ignored, I mean to say, in the larger discourse. So the invisible elephant in the room. So we would like to kind of talk about that a little bit. And then the final one, which is bothering everyone's mind now, is the climate change and water security. What are the adaptation needs, and how do we come up with this on both the demand and supply side of our work? So I think this is something which I will be talking about. So not wasting too much of time on further, let's jump into the first pillar of discussion, which is embedding urban water in urban development. So we all know that when we grow from a small town to rather a large village or Nagar Panchayat kind of a thing that we talk about in India, and we have 4,000 small towns, as we all know, in the census 2011 data. So I think as we move further from a small town to medium town to city to metro, this whole journey of the urban development, which is basically fueled by public finance and growth in GDP. The question that we need to ask is there enough consideration of local water security and what constitute it? In my experience, I have seen that often it is not considered prior to the plans for the urban development kind of put into action. And that is where I think you see the new Gurugram or Hyderabad or Mumbai or Chennai or Delhi, how their trajectory had been to becoming a metro kind of a situation. The story seems to be the same across the country. The second point in this is, we all know that what is not measured is not managed well. So do we have a systems that measure urban water security, or rather planning of the new urban development is based on realistic water security, based on surface and groundwater comprehensively? And this is largely related to a point where how we are lagging behind in our integrated urban water management as urban spaces. The third point is the struggle between land and water as a resource in urban development. For urban development, you need land is more priced and more precious seen as than water, and then that is visible in terms of dwindling water bodies in developing urban spaces. So what happened is that as we moved, as we kind of prioritized the land in comparison to water, the loss of surface water bodies and the increasing dependence on the groundwater that we have seen post ease out of the technologies of boring, and it become very cheap and viable in kind of thing. So the result is visible now in 2024 with monumental groundwater issues where we are facing rapid depletion of aquifers and deteriorating groundwater quality problems. So this is something again we need to think through. And the fourth point in this direction is treatment and reuse of wastewater generated just it started getting attention. At least a little bit of talks are happening around it about the circular economy and all of that. But we all know that we have miles to go in that, towards that, in terms of building it up as a source of water. That means treated water as a source of secondary use for water. So coming back to the point, what scale efforts needed towards integrated urban water management, covering both supply and demand side for urban water security with multi-stakeholder engagement. So this is first
Puneet,
set of.
sorry to bother you. Could you please put it on the slideshow so it becomes larger? Thank you.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Wonderful.
I think it's visible now.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Then we will move to the second point, which is regarding the urban water utilities, the kind of Jal Nigam, if I'm in Uttar Pradesh, or mostly we have a public water utilities in India. So largely public utilities and service providers we have. No culture or incentives in the current financing mechanism for utilities based.
Okay, we lost connection with Puneet. So what we will do, we will start with you, Rakesh, and then take Puneet later on. Is that fine with you, Rakesh? Yeah. Just give me a moment. So let me introduce you, and then once Puneet is back, we will take him after your presentation. So we have our second speaker, Rakesh Verma. Rakesh is an experienced professional with 16 years of experience in packaging development, quality assurance, and supply chain management of all kinds of produce. Currently, he is also the manager of product development and community support at the Tata Chemicals Limited, Mumbai. And this is where I got to know about his work on rural water entities. So he specializes in new product and packaging material development, inventory management, and logistic operation. But he's also managing the other side of doing water supply or more corporate activities in the rural areas with water. Previously, he held roles at Piramal Glass Limited, Garden Polymer Private Limited, ASB International, and many more such organizations. And he holds a post-diploma in plastic mold design and diploma in plastic mold technology from CPET. He is known for his strong interpersonal and analytical skills, and is dedicated
Hello.
to continuous improvement and cost-saving measures. Hello. Hello. So what we are going to do, we are going to take you, Rakesh. Oh, I see Puneet is back. Puneet, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm sorry for the loss in the connection.
No issues. So please bear with us. So I saved some time and introduced Rakesh, so we can straight away start with Rakesh's presentation after yours. Please go ahead.
All
Sorry,
right.
Rakesh.
Thank you.
Please,
Thank you for that. Yeah. So I
put
will
it
just.
in the slideshow. Yeah, thanks.
Yes, please. So I will just talk about the second pillar of my today's presentation, and that is about water quality, which is always a suspect in urban water. So many times we know that water is being supplied in our homes, but we are not sure of its water quality. And that is why in urban areas, you see household water filters in every house that you visit. And most likely it is to be a reverse osmosis based purification model. So water safety and water quality assurance is missing from urban water discourse due to weak regulation and monitoring mechanism. A large non-network urban population. So many of the people who are out of the piped water supply business, like migrant population and the population in the low-income settlements and slums. So a large number of non-network urban population feeds on a spot groundwater sources like local tube well or bore well or hand pump or those kind of options, and need household level water purification for often a mix of various contaminants in groundwater, such as bacteria and viruses, fluoride, arsenic, iron, high TDS, salinity, chloride, pesticides, and heavy metals. So it's a cocktail of so many things depending upon where you are in. And they are forced probably to drink without having any sort of treatment option. And I'm talking about even the expanding urban areas or peri-urban areas, which are in the process of integration into the cities and towns. Sometimes this weight can be very heavy. Then the piped water supply scheme often lack comprehensive water treatment and water quality monitoring mechanisms covering source to tap. So we come to the result of all this is the predominance of water purifiers for all sort of raw water quality in all households and institutions as only perceived solution. A large number of urban poor in bottom of the pyramid markets forced to feed on informal water markets. And you might have seen the people drinking water from the pouches, or the very cheap water being sold on the name of being safe water to the bottom of the pyramid markets, informal markets, with non-assurance of water quality for supplied water. Community water purifiers have largely failed due to lack of ownership and operation and maintenance. So the take-home point from here is that a strong regulation for supply of safe water by urban utilities is needed, which should be coupled with mass awareness and action on water quality assurance. The third point which I would like to place before you is equity and the urban poor, which is the invisible elephant often in the discourse on the urban water supply. So urban poor often fed on a spot non-water sources, as I said, or informal water markets, paying disproportionately high cost for access to safe drinking water in comparison to network well off in urban areas. And there are different studies that tell how much times high it can be the coping cost of non-service delivery of a safe water. Basic access to safe drinking water, often considered as 25 liters per capita per day, to everyone everywhere is a basic human right of every individual as per UN declaration. So the question before the urban water supply is, does it mean everywhere free supplies like Delhi to the basic water and then have a universal metering and then charge it as your consumption goes up beyond the basic? Need to work out how part of it, particularly during climate change induced or otherwise happening droughts, floods, cyclones, earthquakes, urban heat islands, etc. Bulk supplies, there are some models which has been tried in some other municipalities, and like bulk supplies in storage tanks in the slum community, further treatment and distribution by a social enterprise or social group of people in this living in the slums taking responsibility, and we'll talk more about it as we go ahead on this conversation. As I said earlier, community RO plants have failed often for want of operation and maintenance. Climate change is affecting urban poor disproportionately, and this needs to be understood in all its contexts and implications, probably. By the people who are working in the development sector. Reinforce social enterprise-based solutions with support from urban utilities and municipalities for urban poor, with professionalized service delivery-based approaches for the urban poor is something that we should be kind of talking or looking forward to in terms of engagement on this issue. The last point is climate change and water security and the needs for adaptation. Climate change affects dwindling freshwater sources rapidly and increasing water demand manifold. Like we know that there are lesser number of rainy days with more intense rainfalls coupled with rapid decline of open unpaved spaces and surface water bodies in urban areas that has reduced considerably recharge potential for aquifers and increased the water demand on the groundwater exponentially. So we also know that increased surface temperature in range of 50s and urban heat island demand more and more water as coping mechanism. Water utilities do not have climate change adaptation roadmap for sourcing of water supply and distribution pathways. The result is what we have seen, I mean, to say in past decade, kind of from Chennai to Bengaluru to Delhi to Shimla and many other cities facing the twin wrath of natural calamity and having not enough water to feed the city in such tough times, resulting in public unrest and adverse effects on the public health. The take home here is invest in climate change adaptation by citizens and utilities and enhance awareness among people on the same for the urgent action. So these are some of the points for discussion today. I will place before you. And yeah, with this, I close my presentation and yeah, invite moderators to kind of take forward the discussion.
Thank you, Puneet. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much. With not much time from my end, I invite Rakesh to take on the presentation. May I request you to close your presentation, please? Yeah. Rakesh,
Yes.
you please share your PowerPoint and go ahead. Thanks, Rakesh.
So Puneet has already highlighted a case of this urban supply chain problems and perspective. I'm just highlighting the things from rural side. In a rural side is a different compared to it's worst compared to urban supplies. In the past 1 decade, it's improved by some of the good initiatives taken by the government side. Huge investment done by the infrastructure development other side in rural areas by government and other entities who's under the for development sectors. Then we have seen the challenges in case of rural areas. It's basically contaminations of water and availability of water. These two major challenges. Due to this, both the cases, this waterborne diseases is higher compared to urban areas. So for these solutions, we need to some innovative solutions which can and also sustainable options which can make long-term sustainable in community.
Can't hear you, Rakesh.
Able to change the slide.
Rakesh, थोड़ा सा आपको, I think you have to take your volume little higher. It's very low.
Okay. I'm not able to change the slide.
Oh, is that so? You should be able to.
1 minute.
Okay. If you want me to play, I can do that, but try it out from your end.
Second challenge is if regarding the water bodies is mostly.
I think you have to put your speaker close to you because the voice gets very low. Yeah, thank you.
So
yeah.
In case of second challenge is if we see in rural areas water supplies, in case of most of the water bodies, in case of urban or rural, it's highly contaminated with the plastic pollutions. Easily we cannot get the pouches and bottles in any water bodies. This is one major concerns. Other than that, all the waste, human waste and other type of wastes, easily people are throw in water bodies. This is.
I think people are having challenge to hear you, Rakesh. Maybe you have to put your speaker close to you. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, much better.
The basic challenges now in terms of the water pollutions in rural areas. Most of the cases we have seen, it's people easily throw the bottles and plastic and other contaminated materials, human waste and other things in easily water bodies. Same water body is used for a multi-purpose for a drinking water or is irrigations need and other requirements. So it's an impact to health and other aspects. In case of rural areas, it's a woman is a major pillar for water supplies. He is most of the cases responsibility for, especially case of the drinking water, is taken care by the females. So in case if we want to set up the some quantitative measure, so we need to involve him for decision making prospect also. In our cases, we are always try to involve most of the cases women in our projects, which we do for our areas or through our partner areas. Another, we always think about the local cultural aspects, because everywhere the people has storing the water or water conservations in a different manner. In case of every state or every city, some differences in case of the water conservation and uses that also need to consider during when we are planning to extend the water bodies or something like that. So for make a more sustainable, because any change easily not adopted by the local communities. Community engagements also is required, because of without knowing what exactly we want to do and how we can do and how long we are there. If not involving the communities for in a projects or any type of the water sustainability projects, there be seen that the projects is collapse or due to lack of community involvement, because in case of rural, not easily accessible areas. So if any challenges, local community can immediate react and correct any measures. In case of water supplies and other things, we need to some innovative ideas which can easily access and low cost operational maintenance and in terms of the sustainable. We have a notice in case of some of the state governments and NGOs are also initiated solar pumping systems. Here the cost eliminations of pumping from groundwater or pond or lake or well is reduced. So it's more sustainable in terms of the long-term sustainability with the minimum cost of operational cost. Such initiatives, such different initiatives also take more impactful water supplies in rural areas. In terms of the financial stabilities in a long term, who will be maintain the projects? Most of the cases, in case of government or any private bodies or any corporates is doing the project in rural areas, they do the projects and forget. Nobody is keeping the provisions for a long-term sustainability or maintenance. So as Puneet is also mentioned, most of the RO plants are not working in different areas. Reason behind that, no provisions for long-term financial stabilities or maintenance provisions. So in rural areas, because of language barriers, in different areas, language barriers, policy and governance is required in a local language. Most of the cases, what happen, all the language policies and other documents in a English language or Hindi language. In case of other language, people are not able to read easily and understand the policies. Or it should be a very user-friendly type of policies who can easily read and access. So this is make a more impactful this water supplies things. Last and things, if we want to save the water and make up this supplies, the sustainable supplies, we need to save the water and save the water bodies, because most of the cases in urban and rural, people are day by day declining the water bodies. So if day by day water bodies are declining, means our water sources is reducing, demand is increasing. So this is make unbalanced situations for urban and rural both sides. This is from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Puneet. In such a short time, you actually outlaid the major challenges which rural areas face, and you also gave us some solutions which have been tried out by corporates as well as large NGOs and governments. Would you please close your PPT so that we can take it further? May I now invite my dear friend and young, not I call him, but Nathaniel Bhakupar, and he works with Mugama as a senior research scientist. His expertise includes water resources management, river basin management, policy and environmental pollution, waste management, capacity building, and sustainable development, amongst others. He has worked on safe reuse of treated water in India, focusing on the business model and recommendations and development for a compendium. He works on synthesizing city climate plans under accelerating climate action through the promotion of urban low emission development strategies project, and between India and Norway cooperation project and capacity building for reducing plastic and chemical pollution in India. Then international knowledge hub on plastic pollution. And he's been working for a long time on these aspects, let me tell you that. And he supports and trains his staff to produce effective and timely products. And he is a social media and outreach coordinator for MGC, Inopol, and ICAP. And he's been our seasoned discussant, so I need not take much time and hand it over to Nuts. Over to you, Nuts.
Thank you, Mansee. So I'll start by summarizing Puneet's presentation. Puneet discusses various qualitative aspects of the urban water supply and sanitation in India. He spoke about the embedding of urban supply and urban services framework as well as urban development. He highlighted the fact that there is a lack of consideration of the local water security in urban development projects, leading to issues such as rapid depletion of aquifers, deteriorating groundwater quality, and he also says that there is a need to monitor our water, as well as, more importantly, plan our new urban development based on realistic water security measurements. He also states that there is a need for comprehensive planning and management of water resources on a war footing, including supply and demand of surface and groundwater to ensure sustainable water security. He also spoke that there is the current financing mechanism for utilities lack incentives for performance benchmarking and improvements in service delivery. And there is a need for strong regulatory provisions for mandatory annual cycles of performance benchmarking. He also showed that there's been decades of poor performance, with most water utilities having poor performance due to a lack of monitoring and benchmarking, resulting in low supply hours, poor water quality, and high unaccounted for water. He also talks about water quality being a suspect in urban water, and this could probably be due to weak regulation and monitoring mechanisms, which leads to these inadequate water safety and quality assurances. A large urban population as well relies on groundwater sources, which necessitates household level water purification due to contaminants such as heavy metals, pesticides, and others. He also talks about that pipe water supply schemes often lack comprehensive water treatment and monitoring mechanisms, which leads to a reliance on RO or water filters and informal water markets as well. To maintain a safe water supply, urban utilities should follow strict regulations as well as raise public knowledge about water quality. He highlighted the equity and urban poor as the invisible elephant. He also stated that the urban poor pay higher costs to access safe drinking water compared to network well-off urban areas. And he also discussed that ensuring basic access for safe drinking water for everyone, especially during climate-induced crisis as well as other crises, is a fundamental human right. And he calls for additional payment if you're using beyond what is fundamentally yours. He also states that the reinforcement of social enterprise-based solutions, along with the support from urban utilities and municipalities for the urban poor, could be a potential solution. He highlighted that climate change and water security are the main issues right now because of the rapid reduction of freshwater surface due to climate change, coupled with an increasing demand from an increasing population, leading to severe water scarcity. The increased surface temperatures as well as the urban heat islands thereof also demand more water as a coping mechanism. And also the fact that most water utilities do not have a climate change adaptation roadmap for sourcing as well as distributing water. He states that to combat this, we need to invest in climate change adaptation by citizens as well as utilities, as well as enhancing the awareness among people. I switch to a summary of Rakesh's presentation. He spoke on rural water supply challenges and solutions. He spoke about how addressing rural water supply challenges requires a multifaceted approach, considering gender perspectives, cultural factors, community engagement, innovative technologies, financial sustainability, as well as sound policy. He highlighted the challenges in rural water supply, such as limited infrastructure and resources, which pose significant challenges to rural water supply. Quality and reliability of water resources are also often compromised, which impacts health and well-being of rural communities. And he also states that we cannot go with age-old efforts. We would definitely need innovative approaches and sustainable solutions. Another challenge is the disposal of waste, plastics, chemicals, or untreated wastewater into water bodies such as rivers, lakes, which cause water pollution, harming plants and animals, among others. He highlighted that the understanding gender dynamics is essential, as well as highlighted the fact that women often bear primary responsibility for water collection specifically, and therefore women's involvement in decision making and management is pivotal for any sustainable project. He also stated that respecting and integrating cultural beliefs and practices into water supply initiatives is vital. Understanding local traditions and rituals can also enhance the acceptance and sustainability of the interventions. And to do this, empowering local communities to participate in decision making and sustainable management of water resources is crucial. And because the cultural and social dynamics play a key role in shaping water supply solutions. He also calls for innovative technologies such as solar pumps that he showed us and water purification solutions that can be sustainable. And he highlights that these advancements can significantly improve access to water. However, there is a need for financial sustainability. There is a need to develop a financial model to ensure long-term sustainability of rural water supply projects, and the need to invest in infrastructure as well as operations and maintenance is essential for long-lasting impact. Effective policies and governance frameworks are essential for addressing the complexities, especially in the rural water supply area. But regulatory measures and institutional support are critical for success. That's about it, the short summaries. So we'll move on to the Q&A. I hope you're ready. I have a question first for Mr. Puneet. What specific policy changes are needed to better integrate water security considerations into urban development planning?
Thank you for this question. Yeah, so as I talked about in my presentation about how do we integrate urban water concerns into the urban development planning and action, I think some of the points that we can kind of definitely point out here, which are, I think, experienced by most of the people working in urban water supply, is that as we grow in the notification of the urban areas from rural areas and the urban development trajectory, all the surface water body sources should be mapped and notified in revenue records of all urban areas as urbanization process starts at Nagar Panchayat and then further upwards. So that is one that you need to take control of your surface water bodies, ponds, lakes, and everything together, and see that it is properly recorded in the revenue records inventory, and there are kind of a strict regulation against the encroachment of such bodies by people who are more interested in grabbing land out of that. So I think that is one. The second is that all rivers, tributaries, nalas, etc., that pass through in urban areas should have a minimum of some no intervention floodplain zone, and that can vary anything from 100 meter to 1 kilometer, depending upon the size of the river or the nala, and everything could vary anything from that. But it needs to be defined and seen that it is no anthropogenic activity zone for a river or a nala or a stream to have its floodplain. It's act like a living being. So that is something which is very important, and that needs to be enforced by the agencies which are involved in the urban development planning and its implementation. Third point is that rainwater harvesting, particularly rooftop rainwater harvesting, but other forms also, should be strictly implemented for, especially in the case of rooftop rainwater harvesting, in completion certificate and commissioning of the building. And even for the assessment of the house tax, it should be made mandatory to have a functional, proper installed rooftop rainwater harvesting, which uses its water most likely for various purposes depending upon its water quality. That that make it fit for use for certain purposes as such. So I think that is something which must be kind of put in by all municipalities, all urban development agencies, strictly in terms of enforcing it further. Uh, the fourth point in the policy is about the when you create a urban area, or when you notify a new area, or if you do master planning of an urban area, I think for its approval, it is important for looking at the feasibility of the water supply or water security for the planned population that you are trying to bring in into that space, at least for next 30 years. So a comprehensive water availability, water assessment report should be the basis for approval of such master plans and sourcing of water, and that is very important. So sometimes we have seen that cities are planned on the premise that water will be brought from somewhere else in that locality, from far off distances and all. The thing is that you can never have a water security of a city if you are completely dependent on your water supply from outside the city, given the growing water conflicts between regions, states, cities, villages, etc., that we have seen in recent years as the scarcity grows. So there has to be some sort of policy discussion about what kind of a ratio should be adopted for having a feasibility of a local water security. So I think that if the planned cities are able to kind of at least project that they will be able to meet the 50% of the demand of the design population by the local water sources at least. Some consideration for water security that is based on local water sources and groundwater situation and all that needs to be the basis for approval of such urbanization process itself. So where it is not done, we have seen right from the beginning, right from the birth of a city, the situation going awry about resourcing urban water, and it always creates a conflict between the areas from where you import water and try to distribute it, increasing the cost to the people, just making it unsustainable in the long run. So I think that is something. So these are some of the points on the policy side that we must look at in terms of integration of urban water security into urban development planning as such. Thank you.
Thank you, Puneetji. My next question is to Rakesh. Rakesh, I've seen that you've implemented those TATA Swatch. Can you give us a little bit of an introduction about what that is, as well as how you've implemented these things with all those considerations about gender, culture, as well as local knowledge and community engagement?
Okay. So basically, in our case,
you will need to hold on your mic closer to you. Thank you.
Basically, in case of our cases, we mostly work in rural areas where we not have excess of clean drinking water. So in case I'm explaining one project in the Northeast, we have done it. Almost we have done installations Northeast, Seven Sisters in more than in year of 1920, we have done more than 100 installation across the Northeast. So their basic criteria is that selections of villages or locations, they have not water. They have availability of water, but they have not availability of safe drinking water. So most of the cases, this scenarios, ladies are taking waters from pond or well or open well, or streams. Most of the cases, very different scenarios in all the locations, and village to village, it's very different scenarios. So that scenarios, our main objectives to system should be sustain a long run. When we have intervened this areas in December or March, I think March to December, we have done this project. We have noticed most of the areas in remote areas where the ladies are taking water in the Northeast, 2 kilometers, 1 kilometers from village. basis on clean or safe drinking water. Most of the location stream water supplies is there. In case of the some government supplies are there, but not getting the fresh water, clean water. Sometimes water supplies is not as per standards. Clean water means basically what the visual measures they are taking, water is clean or not. They are not aware this is a bacteria free or not, this is a contaminated or not. They are not knowing. In general, in case of rural scenarios, in case of Northeast, there are no contaminations because of no industrial pollutions is there. Only the concerns is microbial contaminations and another physical contaminations maybe. Most of the cases we have find out ki no physical contamination is there. Only one basic challenge is microbial contamination. In case of where we are taking water from ground, maybe arsenic or fluoride may be one issue. So we prefer locations where the resource is a sustainable. Resource is a sustainable means in most of the cases is stream water or the water should not sections deeper and deeper. So this is a make a more sustainable here. The cost of operations or cost of pumping the waters from ground, it's lesser. So this is the way we have a selected villages, and I'm very happy to say in out of 100 plus units, more than 90 units still running on ground. We check our intervenes frequently. The basis on that, we can say here we have not installed any this solar systems. Most of the cases is stream water we have selected because it's easily available and pressure is available. Easily we can filter. Or some of the locations we have used lesser deeper water. So it's a more safer compared to deeper groundwater. In a deeper groundwater, a higher possibility of higher TDS and other compositions, higher limits of things. So that's why we have selected that locations where we can easily provide the and make a more sustainable manner. So another aspects. So we involve in our cases, principally we give ownerships to monitor and manage where possible to gender specify. We mostly try to give ownership or management through Jal Samiti or type of things we create and give ownership to this communities you can take and maintain. If you have any technical challenges or any maintenance required, you can call to us, we will resolve through virtual or physical, whatever the possible. Most of the cases we train this SSGs or women groups to make how to make a sustainable. They are taking from community small contributions per family, 1 rupees, 2 rupees per day. It's a very small contributions, make a more sustainable type of things. Or people can get easily clean drinking water. I think I have replied your all queries.
Yeah, thank you so much. My next question is to Puneet ji. You have worked in the sector for quite some time. I would like to ask you to share some successful examples of social enterprise models that have provided water services to urban slums in a sustainable manner.
Thank you, Nathaniel ji. This is something which is, I should must point out right in the beginning, is a challenge even now, in spite of decades of work on this issue by urban water practitioners. So there have been different models used in different parts of the world as well as India in terms of reaching out to the people in the urban slums. That varies from development of spot sources like a tube well with a tank type of a stand post for the people to fill in water. In the smaller towns, you may still see a hand pump in such kind of locations. Then in the metros or the big cities where you have a sizable proportion of these kind of slums and people, you will find that there has been different kind of models that have been talked about, and implemented by CSRs as well as the governments or NGOs, trying to build in some community engagement on this issue and developing a water source and transferring it to the community. But as compared to rural, the challenge in urban slums is they are highly fragile and they are highly, um, you know, very temporary kind of structure, particularly in formal settlements, when we talk about them. So they are always in the process of, unsettlement and all that, with the fear hanging around them and all that. So nothing, I mean, to say, in terms of sustainable option, it's quite a challenge. And then there are some informal service providers in those places where people still buy water, which is very cheap, but not visibly clean, probably, but not maybe not assured of water quality overall and all that. Now coming back to the institutional solutions, in the many of the countries in the world, the utilities have tried to set up low income customer support units. So that means they basically talks about setting up a water kiosk kind of a structure within those community, run by uh, run by a social entrepreneur from that community, for distribution of water at a very nominal price, and the bulk water supply again is arranged by the utility as such overall. This model has also found its place in India in terms of when we look at Mumbai, where you have municipal corporation for Greater Mumbai, and they have kind of tried to put a metered stand post in the community with a responsibility to a local leader having that, and then the further distribution responsibility from there to kind of local households in terms of extension of pipelines and all that stuff. So those kind of models are there. Normally, these kind of stand posts are shared between 10 to 15 households in the vicinity to collect water. And it's almost similar to what the Manila Water did in Philippines earlier when the privatization happened there with the World Bank support. Then coming back to another model where again from World Bank initiation in Mumbai, which with the sanitation blocks being constructed in those communities, and those being run by again local entrepreneurs hiring by an CBO, and then um, using the presence of such huge number of SSP, what they call it, they have tried to kind of in the sanitation support program, they have also added on water. So the water is now being supplied to the in a tank in those sanitation blocks where they are developed in the community, where good quality water apparently is being supplied by Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai, and then the distribution part from there is taken over by again the enterprise running it, or the local enterprise that is running it, or the CBO that is running it. So I think that those kind of models are there, but they have a both model of collection from that place as well as the transport of the water to your door, kind of a model where you pay a little bit of additional charges for cartage of water, but to get a minimum supply of safe drinking water as such overall. So I think I have already talked about the different kind of approaches that has been used, and in my presentation I said that the standalone models like developed by the CSR support, like development of a community water purification plant, maybe a RO based plant or a kiosk, and then handing it over to the local entrepreneur. If it is done at a very decentralized level, it doesn't work until unless there is a big organization holding it all together in big numbers to have an economy of a scale of operation. So those models are also available. I think with USAID support, this has been tried in India, and apparently they are charging and they are kind of running it to a varying degree of success and all. But standalone models have definitely failed on the ground in terms of the challenges that it has to run operation and maintenance and revenue generation, etc. with people not having paying capacity, or the charges of the water becoming too high for the poor people to gain access to. So I think I would place this here in terms of the best bet probably that seems like a municipality and utilities support local entrepreneurs or CBOs in setting up this model and supply of safe water to them, and then leave the further distribution to them in the informal settlement for the people who, because of their land tenurial rights or whatever, are not able to gain access to a proper private connection. Um, so I think that is where this experience lies. Thank you so much. I think I have answered your query.
Thank you, Puneetji. Moving on, like in continuation to that, since we learn a bit more from what hasn't worked, I would like to ask Rakesh ji, like you've mentioned that 90 plus are working. What actually failed in the others, and what were your learnings from there?
So basically, what happened in case of rural areas?
You're going to need to have to put your mic closer.
So basically, in case of rural areas, now the community have some different ideas which we are not able to consider. In case of the people is not believed to take filter water. In some of the communities, they believe now this is not fresh water. It's passed through the machines. It's one challenges. This is some of the cases, not all the cases. Some of the cases, water availability is not there. Some of the cases, we have installed the equipments and infrastructures built, but somebody's or some social persons has damage. So we cannot reinvest in that locations where safety is a concern. This is the major concern. In some cases, like a water supply is a break. No, when we have assessed the first before the installations or planning the projects, that time scenario is a different. Pre and post is a very differ. Because when it's like a marriage. Some marriages long run, some marriages in a 2 year or 1 year is like that. So it's a depend how we are doing pre-assessment. If we do pre-assessment in a better manner, that possibilities and sustainability is long term. If we are doing a pre-assessment on a remote basis or so it's possibilities of sustainabilities of that project it's very less. This is the scenarios work for our cases what we have learned in my experience. I have not such experience like you and others in terms of the social sector. So that's the reason, because if you are doing anything possibilities of success and unsuccess is there. This is the major concerns. I think I have answered your question.
Thank you, Rakesh ji. I think we're almost out of time. I'm handing it over to Mansee again. Mansee, back to you.
Thank you so much, Nathaniel, for engaging our speakers. And most importantly, thank you so much, Puneet and Rakesh, to give an overview. I can understand that 1 hour is not enough to discuss such a complex issue, and that too, taking both urban and rural. But I was keen to have this session together to just get an overview that whether the challenges are similar, what are the common patterns, what are the differences of challenges, and what are the differences of opportunities that both urban and rural areas face. Importantly, the Constitution does not discriminate between urban and rural people. It has to have the same water supply system. It has to get people the same quantity of water and same quality of water to everybody. But somewhere it is the governance of urban and rural sector which makes the difference in the supply of water or in the provision of water facilities and utilities. So before I end, actually, I will ask very quick questions and more like a rapid fire answer and not seeking long answers. And if there are any pressing questions from any of our participants here, I see more people on YouTube today. So hi, if you are hearing us, you can post your question in the YouTube. I can see you. I have access to it. And I can read it for our speakers, but meanwhile, if people in Zoom can answer a question, I'm very welcome to take them. So my question first is to Rakesh. And I was quite intrigued when you said that in the Northeast Seven Sisters, these projects were installed. And I know that you are also working on other states as well. And you brought this cultural and technological dimensions, and the acceptance of people to this new way of getting water, So if we are still far from getting that cultural acceptance or even empowerment कि ये पानी मेरे लिए ही तो है,
I agree.
तो so that मैं इसकी देखभाल करूं, कोई आके मुझे दे रहा है, तो ये जो कल्चरल शिफ्ट आना है, because the whole culture of women fetching water from water bodies is now ingrained and well accepted in our culture. अब जो इजी पानी आना है, बेटर पानी आना है, उसमें जो कल्चरल शिफ्ट है, इट इज अ ट्रांजिशन. So how do you think women particularly are taking it as a positive step towards their well-being and also getting more time for themselves? Because this is a major work which has been worked out. What's your personal experience of talking to some of the women?
Basically, be involved financially for a case. For examples, we have done one projects in one village where we have taken community contributions from each families. So it's directly, indirectly, we have transfer the financial ownership. So it's
Yes.
make a more sustainable. As you highlighted, in case of the easily accessibility of water, for women get a better time to for a family and other prospective, they can make further time to learning or livelihood and other things also they can involve. Easily accessibility of water. This make a very positive impact. We have done one projects in this Amravati where we have done this try to this initiatives through government partnership. So that is a make a very positive impact.
Would you like to share some comments which you may have received? Because I'm always curious, what are women thinking when they have to go through this cultural shift? But I can completely understand how their life must have changed. And this is one of the major initiatives which across the world, in fact, is going on to empower women in the water sector because they are in charge. Let me move to Puneet to ask a very tricky question to you. Puneet, whenever we talk about urban water supply, we naturally have a tendency to move towards the vulnerable community and talk about the water supply to them. This is a natural tendency by the educated elites. I want to ask you, and this is a question I always want to ask even United Nations and World Bank and all, are we doing enough to control the extravagant water use by the haves? See, we are focusing a lot on have-nots, and it's a limited supply. So if the haves are having more water, it is natural that have-nots are going to have less water. What is your take on this? Have we done enough apart from putting water meters in some of the cities in the country? Ahmedabad does not have water meter. What's your take?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for this question. I think this is very important question because normally when we talk about urban water supply, we tend to talk about the supply side of the story. Often we forget about the demand side of the story, and then again resulting problems because of mismanagement of wastage of water and all that, citizens awareness and all that kind of a thing. I think when I talked about integrated urban water management, one of the pillars of the integrated urban water management is, or rather recommendation is to include all stakeholders in water governance, and because every one of us living in the city is a water user, if not a water supplier.
Yes.
So the whole idea is to how do you engage, because utilities are busy, servicing people and all that kind of stuff. But then because of the weak regulation of the groundwater, we all know that groundwater is kind of a lot of wastage and a lot of misuse is happening, because of which it is dwindling more rapidly than it should have been because of increasing demand. So how do you bring behavioral shifts in the towards in the people, because it's difficult, because the behavior change part is the most difficult part of it. So coming back to the point now, I think with the increasing water scarcity that cities are facing, and a lot of conversations happening around, not because someone has initiated it, but because the scarcity, the heat of the scarcity in the summer months that people face. So because of that, a lot of things are happening. And now I think with the climate change discussion starting up again, there is a whole so I would tell about how we are trying to deal with this issue. So what we have initiated is a school program where we in the playful manner we teach children about to count their water footprint. That means that they need to be aware about if they eat one chocolate, how much fresh water it takes to manufacture that. If they wear a t-shirt and a cap, they should be knowing that how much it takes to produce one t-shirt, and or even one cup of coffee or one bowl of rice as such overall. So the whole idea is that when you talk about water scarcity, all these things and the lifestyles that you are kind of aspiring for will require a huge amount of water to sustain. All right. So the whole idea is to bring them towards the having a consciousness of how much fresh water they are withdrawing because of their lifestyles, count their water footprint, and try to reduce it as much as possible. I mean to say on the demand side. Similarly, the small gadgets and devices that can help you bring, like for example, we launched a AC water barrel recently. You can install it in any 1.5 ton AC in your urban area and get about 40 liters of water per day from condensation, or is a simple water, and then you have a tap installed in that and you can use that water daily. I have it in my house, I'm using it, this water, for other purposes. So this is a very simple device, low cost device that can be hanged on the wall along with the AC, and then you can have about that much of water every day. So build your own local water security. You have to not totally dependent on the groundwater, because it is a common property resource, so misused very very highly, not only by the people but by the governments also. And if you look at the parks, if you look at the urban spaces and the landscaping needs for watering and all that stuff, where does this water come from? This comes from groundwater, and then that is why we are now getting dry on the groundwater as such. So I think that is one. The second, I talked about the rooftop rainwater harvesting and regulation. I think it's not only the regulation but also adoption by the people that matters here. And so your water demand from outside is a little bit in control, and you are able to so I think all these sort of actions with the like-minded CSOs or NGOs or people who are conscious about the growing water scarcity and the results, devastating results it can have on the lives and health of the people. I think these are some of the things that should be worked upon on the demand side management of the water supply. But unfortunately, there is not much action from the mandated service providers on that side of engaging the stakeholders, all stakeholders, as I said, integrated. And that is why I'm again bringing the this conversation about integrated urban water management, because you don't see the water as only the groundwater or the surface water. It's a water cycle, and all the water cycle needs to be covered in your planning and discussion about the urban water supply. When you talk about resourcing the urban water supply water, we have hardly spoken on anything but surface and groundwater, which again is interrelated to each other. So obviously, I think there are implications of overuse or overexploitation of one kind of resource on the other. And we all know that we are living in a water cycle. It's not a stationary thing as such overall. So this all vision of water security based on the mathematical calculation that you have is very fragile, and climate change is definitely challenging us every day on our calculations, and the kind of and the kind of devastation we can face in the coming days. So obviously, I think that the time to act on that is now. I think many people are waking up, many organizations are waking up. Probably this is the reason why we are in the dialogue today. And I would say that this remains a very important question to along with the supply discussions, to bring this conversation on the board, as you have rightly pointed out.
Thank you so much, Puneet. Thanks a lot. And I know this 1 hour we have already reached, actually 75 minutes is not enough to discuss all these serious issues. And you will be surprised to know, Puneet and Rakesh, that हार के नहीं बट थोड़ा डिसअपॉइंट होके साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी से आई एम एक्चुअली टेकिंग रिसॉर्ट इन सम फिलोसॉफिकल एंड रिलीजियस स्क्रिप्चर्स टू लुक एट कि क्या रिलीजियस एंड स्पिरिचुअल स्क्रिप्चर्स में इतने सालों से सिंस एंटिक्विटी इट हैज बीन रिटन अबाउट water as human right and also water as our duty to take care of it. Can we find some things where we can actually reach out to people, share those literature, and maybe we can change people's behavior towards the water use, misuse and abuse as well, overuse for that matter. But anyway, we will talk about it at some other point in time. First of all, let me thank all the participants here in Zoom and on YouTube. Because of them, we have been able to really continue our water conversations for more than now 250 sessions, very close to 300 sessions now, because we also do Friday waters and Monday munching. So I'm going to now take the opportunity to announce our next week session. So we welcome you to another session on Monday munching and musing with Women for Water on July 22nd. At 5 p.m. IST, that's our routine time. In the forthcoming Wednesdays for Water on July 24th, we are starting a new series, which is International Association of the Study of Commons, started by Rostrom. And we are starting its Asia series with the first session on experiences from integrated lake basin management. And we have no other than the legend on integrated lake basin management, who was influential in India's policy on lakes, Professor Dr. Masahisa Nakamura from straight away from iLake, Japan. So he's there on next Wednesdays for Water on July 24th. Next week, we also have an interesting session on Friday Water's book review session on July 26th. And we are again going at 5 p.m. IST, and we are discussing the book on water security, conflict and cooperation in peri-urban South Asia. And this will be taken by Professor Sumit Vich from Wageningen University from Netherlands. And all the joining links and all the other details will be on our website. So do keep tuned to our website, www.w4w.in, as well as do keep following us on our social media accounts. Now, last and the least, thank you so much, Nuts, for again steering the whole session through. And thanks a lot to Puneet and also Rakesh for taking this session so sportingly and also sharing us your views and experiences and also enlightening the entire session. Thanks a lot. Please take care of yourself. See each other soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dr. Mansee.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.